of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candice Harris, and I'm here today with Game Freak Geek Monique, a content creator and part of the Elf Creek Games team. You might see them at conventions or on Twitch or on YouTube, everywhere. How's it going today, Monique?
That is the best intro. Thank you. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me. There's like air horns blaring in the background. I can just hear them. Yes.
What's good?
No, I'm doing great after that. I'm like, man, I'm all pumped up. I want to meet this person they're talking about.
Awesome. So what's going on in your world?
It's going great. I think I had a very quiet year last year where it was just kind of going through like the day-to-day stuff. And so I'm just really excited to just kind of be back and doing more content and getting to hang out with people again. And I'm just grateful to be where I am.
Cool. Yeah, it was awesome to, you're one of those people who I met via Twitter, or I think via Twitter, or maybe we did a live stream of something together back in 2021 or 2022, but we finally met in person last year at Gen Con, right? Or no, that was 2 years ago.
No.
It was 2 years ago because we were playing Rift Force at the airport together.
My first Gen Con. That was crazy.
I don't know why I thought that was this year, but that was 2021. So we go way, way back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're like lifelong homies now.
I know. And we still need to, we always talk about starting a band together because Monique sings, y'all.
Yeah. It is definitely another one of my many hobbies. I just sing for the joy of it and because it is fun. And awesome. I think that is like the main reason everyone should sing.
Hey,
because it's less about the performance and more about like the sounds your soul makes,
Yeah, yes. I mean, I'm a music fan, huge music fan.
I hear you got the beat.
I got the beat. Today, we're going to be discussing some of the games being released in 2023 that we are most excited about so far, at least. It's still early, but these are some games that we are just really stoked for. And of course, I mean, I don't know about you, Monique, but I'm still playing and enjoying a bunch of new games from 2022. And I really shouldn't even be thinking about 2023 games. But, considering we're just first week of 2023, I thought it'd be kind of fun to look ahead and highlight some games coming down the pike that we're pumped for this year.
It's always good to have something to look forward to.
Yes. And board games. But before we start discussing games we're looking forward to in 2023, I'd love to hear what you've been playing lately, Monique. So let's jump into fresh plays. So what you been playing lately, Monique?
So something that was new to me and like I heard a lot about over the last year, and I was able to get a copy and play with my littles, was Juicy Fruits.
Ooh.
I played it I was fortunate enough to be able to spend time in England last year, and I got to go to GridCon,
cool.
Which
I don't
is
know what that is.
it's a gaming rules, right? The channel Gaming Rules in Devon, and there's like a really small, chill, very play-focused convention where they raise money for charity that they had, and I got to go, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So I got introduced to Juicy Fruits and immediately wanted to share that experience with my littles, and so over the holiday, we played quite a bit of that, and it was so much fun.
Awesome. I know Juicy Fruits is Capstone, and I feel like I can picture those big chunky components, but I've never actually played it. Like, what's the game like?
So it is like it does have those big chunky fruits. I'm very much like a sensory type of player. Like I play a lot with my eyes and fingers first. Like my brain's like, yeah, let's do it. So you are you have an island. Each player has their own island, and the island pieces are so cute. Like and so you get your own island. You fill up your island with fruit and boats, and you want to supply those boats with fruit that you are able to shift and move around your player board on your island. And after you could also get points by supplying those boats. Or there is also a market where you can help people make their fruit business dreams come true, which
Nice.
I love. It is very much like Mr. Rogers' Fruit Neighborhood. But it was so much fun. It is by from Capstone Games by Christian Store. It's for 1 to 4 players. It has 2 sides. So you have the basic side where you're just supplying fruits and helping people with their business plan to achieve their awesome fruit dreams. And then there's another side where you can make drinks like sodas and fruit juices and stuff.
Cool. So that is Juicy Fruits from Capstone Games. I recently played for the first time Flamecraft, which is a 2022 release designed by Manny Vega, and it's published by Cardboard Alchemy, and it plays with 1 to 5 players. And Flamecraft is this kind of light worker placement game where players take on the role of flame keepers, and we are in this town where we're gathering resources and we're placing dragons and casting enchantments to enhance these shops around town. And these shops are adorable. They have like really little clever names and cute artwork. And as you're doing this, your reputation is going to grow as a flame keeper. And, you know, as you're helping the dragons and the shopkeepers in town, and that's the goal, to kind of have the most reputation at the end of the game. And I had the pleasure of playing my friend Lauren's like deluxeified Kickstarter edition. So it has a neoprene mat. It's kind of a it's kind of a long pretty board, but it's a neoprene mat. And around the board, so it looks like it's like the town kind of, and you have cards that are representing these different shops, and different shops kind of specialize in one of the, I think there are 5 different resources, maybe 6. But on your turn, you can you're going to move your Flame Keeper, which are these like minis. I don't know what it looks like in the regular retail version, but you have these like dragon looking minis that are adorable. But you're going to move to a new shop anywhere. And this is kind of a lighter worker placement game where you're not blocked out if another player is already there, but you have to pay that any other players there a resource of your choice. And it's kind of cool because you can't ever have more than 7 of each type of resource. So like, you know, as the game progresses and people are kind of like stocking up on resources and you have to pay them a resource, you can be mean and pay them the resource that they already have 7 of, and then they can't take it. Not saying I did that, but
never. No, you
not me. But on your turn, you can either do a gather turn or an enchant turn, and if you gather, you're getting resources from whatever shop you're at. From whatever resource icons are kind of showing up at the shop itself, and also on any dragon cards that were placed there. And then you can also place a dragon card from your hand. So you start the game with a hand of a couple dragon cards, and then there are ways you can get more throughout the game. And then you can activate one of the dragon's abilities at the shop that you're at. Plus, certain shops later in the game have shop abilities, so you can also activate the shop ability. And then if you take the enchant turn, then you're spending the resources, matching, like, so they have these different enchant cards in the middle of the board, and they all correspond to like a type of resource or like a type of shop. So if I'm at a shop that has potion, or I would call it wine because it was purple, and then like a bottle, but if it has the potion icon, then you can do an enchant on an enchant card that has a potion icon. And it's usually like you're just spending a certain amount of resources and getting victory points. I think it's mostly you're gaining victory points, if I recall, when you do these enchants actions. and fulfill these enchant cards. And then after you spend the resources and get whatever points, you're going to put that card on like the top of the shop. So now the shop, whenever you go to there to gather again, you're going to get more resources from that shop. And then you can activate all of the dragon card abilities at that shop that you did the enchant action at. So it's like you're kind of taking a turn. You're either doing a gather turn, enchant turn. As each shop fills up with dragons, and each shop can hold 3 dragons, you're going to then put out a new shop. But the player who's next in turn order gets to decide where the new shop goes. Not that the location really matters now that I'm kind of thinking about it, but they'll get first dibs to go and use that new shop before you. And then there's special objective cards you have that are, different objectives that some of them are for end game scoring. Some of them are like mid game. If something happens, you could say, haha, I have this card that gives me this because I just did this thing. So it was really cute. Whoever has the most reputation wins. It was light. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I really liked some of the different types of shops that came out, and I think there would be like a lot of variability with the order in which these different shops come out. Shops come out. But yeah, I thought it was fun, and I have heard people talking about Flamecraft so long, so I was excited to finally give it a try. Have you played Flamecraft, Monique?
Yes.
You were kind of like looking at me the whole time. Like I'm like, I think Monique played this.
I did. I actually same convention got to play at AgriCon. It was one of those things where it is the one board game regret I carry from like 20. What was the Kickstarter? 2021, 2022, blah blah blah.
Yeah, whenever
I was so enthralled. It's like everything that is like the made up of my soul of like coziness and magic and friendship and cooking.
That is Flamecraft.
That is Flamecraft. I was like, oh, I want it so bad, but it was not the right time for me to purchase games at that time. And so like I kept trying to see if I can get it at conventions, but it would sell out while I was working, so I never got my hands on it. And then I finally got to play it, and it was everything I dreamed of, and it hurts.
Well, I'm sure you can get it later down the line.
It will be mine. Oh, yes. It will be mine.
That's awesome.
Buttered toast dragon. It's my next tattoo, I swear.
What else have you been playing lately, Monique?
Speaking of things that make up the corner pockets of my soul, I've been playing a ton of Obsession since it came on Board Game Arena.
Oh, nice. It's on Board Game Arena. I didn't even know that.
Yes. Like, I think I just made a sound only dogs could hear a moment ago. I love, like, I've always been like a little book nerd because it was just kind of like what I did. So I love a lot of classic literature because it was what I had access to. And I love period dramas. Like, yes. So Jane Austen is like a huge, I'm a huge fan of Jane Austen. This takes kind of like that Georgian Edwardian household, and it puts into a game. So you are a family who is trying to recover from their difficult times by impressing a family of high social standing and wealth. And so you are working together. No, you were working with your family together, like against other families, which are the other players. You're hosting these events, which will garner you either future guests, guests of higher social standing, money, staff, or just activities that just gain you reputation. And so the game is you're constantly balancing your reputation, your home, your finances, and the people that you have as your guests also help you host more activities. So you want to kind of manage your hand of guests in order to host these activities. You want to have enough money to buy the building tiles from the market in order to have your home be a place that can house activities. And all that while you're trying to really increase up your reputation. Now, there are some things that you can do that are more antagonistic player interaction, or you can not go that route at all. It's totally up to you and your style. But like you could steal reputation from other people with gossip. You can have guests that come into your home that are like poor but lovely, so maybe they cost you more whenever you host them. Or maybe they're just very well connected, but they cost you reputation because they're a bit of a gossip. It is very European. It is very much like for people who like really love Bridgerton or period dramas of any nature, absolutely that kind of game. There is a lot of like strategy that is involved, but it's very social kind of strategy, which I really enjoy. But like, even if you aren't into any of those things, because most of the people I've been playing with are not Austen fans, but it's like, I think it's just really fun to kind of manage your engine that way, which outside of the theme, it is very much, nothing feels mechanically wasted either. You're trying to balance, like, again, home, finances, reputation, and then just trying to get higher reputation guests. And there's many different ways to kind of like eke out that victory that you could really kind of sneak up from someone in behind, which I love it. You don't really know who's going to win until the end either. It's like, it's just constantly up on my BGA right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did not even know Obsession was on BGA number one, but I interviewed Dan Halligan on an episode of Cardboard Creations and got the whole backstory on Obsession. And yeah, it's really cool, and it's basically like Downton Abbey, the board game, you know.
Yes.
But there's a lot of strategy to it, and it's a meaty kind of game. But yeah, the theme is very, very unique and very well integrated with the mechanisms. I know he put a lot of love into it, and kind of the inspiration came from his wife, you know, not having board games with themes that she couldn't really get into. And that's what kind of drove him to create Obsession.
I could lead a parade on like niche interests that need board games. There'd be an anthem like, it'd be so much fun. Yeah. No, I love it. I may be mildly obsessed with Obsession.
Awesome. That is Obsession. So I have been playing Arkham Horror, the card game. So I don't know if you've ever played Arkham Horror, the card game, but specifically I'm playing right now well, not right now, but over the past couple months, I have been playing the Edge of the Earth campaign, which is one of the newer campaign expansions. It came out in 2021, but Arkham Horror, the card game, was originally released back in 2016. And then I got into it in 2021 I got into it in the beginning of 2022 when the revised core set came out in 2021. I think it was Rodney from Watch It Played who actually said, you should check out this game. And I can't recall if he knew I liked Lord of the Rings, the card game, or something like that. And like, for whatever reason, Arkham Horror never really struck me. Like, I didn't think I would get into the theme of it. But I ended up getting the revised core set, and we played it with my nephew. And oh my gosh, I'm just like blown away by it. This is one of those games where, again, the theme I didn't think I would get into, but like the way the narrative kind of builds in it, it's so well done. So anyway, Arkham Horror is designed by Nate French and MJ Newman. They both also worked on Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is published by Fantasy Flight Games. And I think Nate French also worked on like Game of Thrones card game, Marvel Champions, and a bunch of other LCGs, living card games. But Arkham Horror plays with 1 to 4 players. It's a cooperative game where you and the other players are investigators, and you're in a New England town called Arkham, where there's a bunch of weird, creepy, Cthulhu-y stuff that's happening, and you have to work together and kind of figure out what's going on and complete different objectives that are kind of thrown your way. So each player plays as a different investigator from one of 5 classes. So there's like Guardian, Seeker, Rogue, Mystic, and Survivor classes. And each of them, now that the game has so many different expansions, has a bunch of different characters that you can choose to play as. And like the Guardian class is kind of like best at killing enemies and monsters, and like seekers are good at getting clues, rogues are good at getting resources and running away from enemies. So you're trying to kind of pick, when you play this game, you're trying to pick a couple different types of characters since it's cooperative and you're working together, and you want to kind of have a diverse set of skills to kind of play the game, because it's a challenging game. It's hard. But it's played as a campaign. So each box that you get of Arkham Horror is a different campaign that's kind of split into different scenarios. And so when you play a scenario, that's like, depending on the amount of players, I don't know, maybe it takes an hour, 45 minutes to an hour per player to play a scenario. I guess it probably depends on which campaign you're playing and which scenario you're playing. Some will play faster than others. But instead of having like a traditional game board, this game is like 95% cards. So your map of where you're exploring is cards that you're going to lay out for these different locations. And you have to kind of like move your investigators to different locations to like reveal what's going on at that location. And you have some objective that you're always working towards, hey, we need to get 10 clues before such and such happens. So you have to then just go start exploring these locations and trying to get clues. And a lot of what you're doing is these kind of different skill checks, because each investigator has a couple different types of skills, and you'll have a strength, each investigator has strengths and weaknesses and different skills. And you also have this chaos bag, which is kind of an alternative to rolling dice to see what happens. But you'll go in, like, say I'm going to investigate, and I'm using my I have a base intelligence of 4, but then I have to pull a chaos out of the chaos bag, one of these chaos tokens, and it will modify the result, and maybe be like, oh, I have a -2 on that, and you have to see if you like pass a test kind of thing. But anyway, we're playing the Edge of the Earth campaign, and it's in Antarctica. Like, so it's set, we're dealing with like harsh weather and like weird, scary challenges happening there. And there's this whole like really cool narrative that's developing. I'm not going to like say anything specific because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's interested in checking it out. But it's really, really, it's such a great game. And, we only play it like once a month, if that. So we're like slowly getting through the campaign. And this is only the second campaign I've done of Arkham Horror, because I'm really late to the party with this one, but it's really, really good. It's like, it's challenging. So, and the co-op, it's such a great co-op experience because you really have to work together and, use your skills. And I didn't even mention this, but each investigator, you'll have your own deck of cards. So you'll have cards kind of specific to what you're specializing in. And a lot of what you're doing is playing cards and using cards to like add, allies that'll help you, and you can put weapons in your hand and stuff like that. And it's all through card play. And then as you kind of go through different scenarios, you earn experience, and then you can upgrade your cards. So you're kind of like modifying your deck and beefing up your skills as you go. But you're also managing so that you're not getting too much physical damage or insanity, mental trauma, because that stuff carries over from scenario to scenario. So there's just a lot of really cool stuff happening. And I was just, because we got to play a game recently in our Edge of the Earth campaign, and it just reminded me of how much I love Arkham Horror. And I always enjoy it when I get to play it. So that is Arkham Horror, the card game, and sort of more specifically, the Edge of the Earth campaign. Monique, I think it's time we start talking about those 2023 games, because I am very, very excited to see what, I know we both play a lot of different types of games, but I'm kind of curious to see what's on your radar versus what's on my radar.
I keep thinking about like the things that were on my list that didn't make it. I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't hurt their feelings. But I'm like, they're just
All right, well, let's get into it. Monique, I had such a hard time with this. At first, I thought like, am I going to even be able to come up with like what games? am I excited about in 2023? But then I had a list of 14 games that I was considering, and I was like, we can't have this podcast be 5 hours. So I had to narrow down. Was it hard for you to come up with a list?
Yeah, I had to, like, before going in, I was just like, I'll just like kind of open up a window for whatever I'm excited about. And so then I'm like, okay, I'll have to open up a window depending on why I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to like, narrow this down even more.
And then you have a million windows open and
they had like 8 tabs each. And like, you know, when you like put a mirror in front of itself.
Yeah, it was kind of a struggle, and I'm not even going to do any honorable mentions because honestly, there would just be too many. Like, there are a lot of really awesome games coming out in 2023, but
that's where it would become a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah, for the sake of not making this podcast episode 5 hours, we're gonna just do 5. I think let's do 5.
Yeah.
So you kick it off. What's the first game? And I don't know about you, but I didn't put mine in any particular order.
No, not at all. I couldn't. That would be way too much pressure after.
Okay, cool.
After all that.
So what is the first game you would like to mention?
So the first game I want to mention is called Steam Up. This was something I got to stream last year, and it is designed by Pauline Hong, Heyman Lee, and Marie Wong. I got to meet Pauline Marie, and they are so kind.
Oh,
they're so nice. I love seeing them at conventions because they're just always the most welcoming people. And I'm like, I don't want to go to work. I want to spend time with you.
That's awesome.
But like production wise, like the base game itself is you are playing one of the 12 animal characters that are based on the Chinese zodiac. So you have like a food blogger boar, which I am a boar, not to brag. Try not to yawn. Then you have a picky eater ox or a rabbit magician, or like another personal favorite, a silver spoon dragon.
Ooh.
Right? So fancy. You can't see this, but I put my pinky up whenever I talk about the silver spoon dragon. So I love the creativity that kind of went into those, making those characters that you get to play. And so while you're playing, you get special actions associated with each of those characters that allow you to get the food you want from the steamer basket of dim sum that is in front of you. That's sitting on a table, which is like a cardboard kind of table that spins around. In the deluxe version, I believe it's wood. Oh, so beautiful.
Whoa.
It is so nice.
Sounds
so
like
you rotate this thing in front of you, and you want to make sure that the right one is in front of you, and then you take the pieces in from those steamer baskets to get points. I mean, it's got everything. It's got culture, education, it's got food, and those deluxe bits that are the base game comes with cardboard. The deluxe comes with like squishy buns, and
wow, I've never heard of this. Is Steam Up, a feast of dim sum? Yeah, I've never heard of it. But it sounds cool.
It's being published by Hot Banana Games. More food stuff. Like cooking is another hobby. It'll be afloat on the board game niche theme parade. So it's already like, it's really fun to play. You're doing like just basic set collection, and I don't know what to call that kind of rondel management of like DJing that table back and forth to get the dim sum. But like for fans of people who really like those food style kind of games, or like walk and roll, saucy grannies, even Sushi Go Party, you could like have such a fun time with this one. I really, really like it.
Cool. That is Steam Up, a feast of dim sum. So this is actually, I picked this particular game first on my list just because it's kind of a segue from me just talking about Arkham Horror. But the first game on my list that I'm excited about is called Earthborne Rangers. And Earthborne Rangers is designed by Adam Sandler, not Adam Sandler, wow. Adam Sadler, Brady Sadler, Andrew Fisher, Brooks Fluger-Levitt, and Andrew Navarro. And they all previously worked for Fantasy Flight Games, who publishes Arkham Horror games. And Earthborne Rangers is actually from a new publishing company that Andrew Navarro started called Earthborne Games. And they are on a mission to kind of, prove that tabletop games can and should be manufactured sustainably. So I'll talk after I tell you about the game, but they're doing a lot to make sure that this game is produced as sustainably as possible. And I think they're just, every game that they create, they're going to have that mission in mind. But this was a game that launched on Kickstarter in late July 2021. And it is a customizable cooperative adventure card game set in the wilderness of the far future for 1 to 4 players. And it basically has this like post-apocalyptic theme where it's actually a positive outcome of where we are. The world doesn't completely crumble. Humanity did good and we were able to save Earth, and now we're living in peace and harmony. But there were a lot of side effects from all of our efforts to kind of undo the damage that we did to Earth when we weren't taking good care of Earth. So it's kind of got like a twist on a post-apocalyptic theme in a more positive direction, I guess.
And we all need that right now.
Yes, we do. And it's played as a branching narrative campaign with, there's a main storyline and there are a bunch of like different side stories that you can kind of explore. And you start by building a deck that reflects your character's personal history. So I think that part of you kind of creating your ranger is kind of like a role-playing game, which I don't have a whole lot of, I have very minimal experience in RPGs. But you're kind of crafting your ranger's backstory, and you have a bunch of different options that you can kind of consider. So you start by building a deck that's going to kind of reflect your ranger and your ranger's whole backstory and everything, and your character for the game. And then you're going to be exploring an open world. And as you explore the open world, you're going to revise your deck and improve your equipment, get new skills, and all that from the different memories that you'll kind of get from your journey. But it's cool too because you can engage with different characters and wildlife as you play the game. Each player has their own player area that represents different things that are within reach of you. And then there's a central area where it's what like all players can interact with the central area. And that's kind of like different things you're discovering along the way. And then on your turn, you perform an action. You can either play a card from your hand or you can choose an action on the table. And the actions are basically kind of letting you interact thematically and narratively with the world around you. And like a lot of what you're doing is you're going to be spending these different energy tokens from your resource pool. I think there are 4 different types. And you can also play cards to kind of boost whatever you're trying to do, whatever effort you're trying to exert to like accomplish something. And that's like something that's reminiscent of Arkham Horror skill checks where you can like throw in another card to like boost your odds of being successful with a skill check. And then again, similar to Arkham Horror, you reveal, instead of the chaos bag where you pull a token out, you're going to reveal like a challenge card, and it's going to modify whatever skill you're kind of trying to use for whatever you're trying to achieve. But anyway, it just seems like such a cool game that like caught my attention. I think my friend Hector put it on my radar, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to back this one. I love the theme and the artwork and everything. I love the card play, the fact that this is coming from people who have worked on Arkham Horror and a lot of like Lord of the Rings living card game, all these games that I already love. And they're kind of like taking what they knew and what they've done before and doing it in a fresh way with this whole mission of sustainability that kind of comes through in the theme of the game. But also like the core set box is going to be recyclable, biodegradable, and or compostable, everything in it. And then there's like, even if you get the deluxe tokens, they're going to be made of some kind of like vegetable-based plastic or something like that. So anyway, the theme seems like really unique. I love the nature exploration aspect to it. And the designers behind it just have a track record for making some awesome games. So I'm very excited to explore this. And that is Earthborne Rangers. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, I haven't, but I love hearing about games that are not only conscientious of the human experience of the world today, but also the human experience after they stop playing the game and the world around them. So
Yeah.
Again, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome.
Super cool. I'm excited about it. What else is on your list?
So my next game, and I will say, like, the protocol was, again, I wanted to talk about games I heard less about that I'm really looking forward to. And this one, I'm so excited. This one is called Mother of Frankenstein. So as we have spent time together, dear listeners, you know that I love classic literature, and Mary Shelley has a special little pocket in my niche little soul that I just love, because I love being, awesome. I love supernatural. I don't like being scared. I have enough of that living in the world today. But I love like a good mystery, a good Agatha Christie, a good like spoopy, like, So
Nice.
Yes, Mother of Frankenstein, designed by Terry Pettigrew Rowlap and Tommy Wallach. I really hope I said your names right. Please don't write hate mail. This has been published by Hatch Escapes. The player count is 1 to 6, and what it is a series of puzzles, like actual like puzzles that you put together, and it is thematically based on Mary Shelley, who is leaving a message, a secret message for her only surviving child. And then got this emotionally engaging story of this message she wants to tell you about the truth behind Frankenstein's monster.
Whoa.
And yes, here's the best part where this was absolutely going on my list. It has puzzles from the great Rita Orloff. Talk about your heroes doing more things in the world. Some of my favorite games last year were Light in the Mist and The Emerald Flame. Just even thinking about it.
I never played either of them. I've heard of Emerald Flame, though. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you because you get to hopefully experience it one day. I don't believe in shaming somebody for not having experienced something before. I am only just that much more excited because I hope you do.
I feel you.
I got to play both with my partner. They were just really shot up as far as like one of my all-time favorite gaming experiences of my life. Both have come from Rita Orloff, so I'm very excited that she has been able to do some of the puzzles for this one, because like if I could turn back time, I would play again. So mysteries, puzzles, classic literature, like a story of secrets and longing, and it's there. It's all right there.
Mother of Frankenstein.
Yes.
Cool. Wow. That's something I've definitely never heard of. And like I said, I've heard things, and I think good things all the time, about Emerald Flame. I didn't know about Light in the Mist, but yeah, I gotta check these out.
Light in the Mist also comes with a pretty cool playlist that you could listen to after, to relive the experience. It's so good.
Oh, not listen to while you play. It's like after.
I don't know. You could probably listen to it like while you play. There is like a lot of like music references that come up, but we listened to it like my partner and I we played through it, just phenomenal game, and then we listened to the playlist and we're like, I remember when this came up, and like, this feels like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, it's so good.
Awesome. Okay, I'll check all these out. And yeah, Mother of Frankenstein. Cool. Okay, so my next game is from GMT Games, and it is called Vijayanagara, the Deccan Empires of Medieval India, 1290 to 1398. This is a game designed by Saverio Spagnoli, Matthew Johnson, Corey Graham, and Aman Matthews. These folks are Consim Jam #1 winners. And for anyone who doesn't know what Consim Jam is, this is a game design contest, And they just did the second one in August. I know because I was a judge. But it's a conflict simulation game design contest that happens just over the course of a weekend where you get together with a team and you design a game. And Vijayanagara won the first year that they did it. And this is a game that one of my good friends, Hector, has been playing on Tabletop Simulator a lot and just raving about and loving. And I don't want to play it on Tabletop Simulator. I want to wait until like the physical version is there, but I am so excited about it. It is a 3-player historical strategy game covering the epic century-long rise and fall of medieval kingdoms in India from 1290 to 1398. I believe it can be played solo or with 2 players, but it's mainly designed as a 3-player game. And this is the first release in GMT's Irregular Conflict Series, ICS, which are games that are adjacent to the Coin series, which is their counterinsurgency games like Cuba Libre, Fire in the Lake, and so on and so forth. Like the Coin series has, I think at this point, like 11 or 12 volumes of games that are out. And I love me some Coin games, but they are very complex and hard to get to the table, and because most of them take several hours to play, so it's just not something I could just pick up on a random Monday night and say, hey, do you guys want to play Fire in the Lake tonight? They just don't work that way. But this game, one of the things that's really cool about it is it can be played in less than 2 hours. I think about 90 minutes, and players are taking on the role of asymmetric roles. One is going to be the Delhi Sultanate, and then the other is the Bahmani Kingdom, and then the other is the Vijayanagara Empire. And, you know, each role is asymmetric in what you're doing in the game and what your strategies are that you need to pursue and what your end game goals are. So it is kind of similar in the Coin series in that, you know, the turn order is kind of centered around a deck of unique event cards, and your decisions of like, do I want to take that event or do I want to do one of these actions that my faction could do, are very, very tough. And also, again, like I love historical strategy games. I love asymmetric factions, and like, you know, and the fact that this game also, like, I know nothing about medieval India and history. So like, to me, just to be able to kind of explore that through a board game is like really, really exciting. And again, the fact that my friend Hector has been raving about this game, I just cannot wait to get it and play it. And that is Vijayanagara. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right at all, but from GMT Games, and that's just a game I'm looking forward to. Have you ever heard of that, Monique?
No, but I am with you when it comes to like, I love the fact that like in playing board games, I get far more interested in way more things that I get to learn about that would have been like a boring lecture sitting in class. But I'm like, oh, but now I'm part of it.
Yeah. You get it better.
Like I'm not a history person. I find history depressing for the most part, but playing Cuba Libre, oh man, I got like, I really loved that game, but I also just could not stop reading about it. Afterwards, I loved how much it opened up my mind to understanding those kind of events that have happened in the world. So if I could
100% agree.
Yeah, if I could have my own like special school, I would do all of my lessons through board games.
Yes,
I could.
Yes, let's start a
could
school.
Could you imagine science class?
Where you learn through board games. I love it.
Yeah,
it is a great way because you're like putting someone, especially with like coin games, you're putting someone in the role of a particular faction, and they're having to understand like what were the motivations of that particular person and how did it kind of interact, how did they interact with these other groups that had their own motivations. And it's really fascinating.
Yeah. What I also found like from playing Cuba Libre is I didn't feel like I had to ally with right and wrong of any of the factions. I just got to absorb kind of like the information and see how its effects would play out when actually played out in a scenario like that. So I really appreciated that experience a lot.
That's awesome. I think this is going to be one that you're going to want to try, and especially if you like Cuba Libre. Yeah. I think this is one. Well, we're going to put this on our list for if we ever meet up in the middle, Central California.
It'll be so great. It'll be so great. It'll be like West Coast Board Game Party.
Yes. Love it. Okay, what else you got?
So, dear listeners, as you know,
dear listeners,
as you know, I love music, and in fact, like one of my favorite history classes was a teacher who taught us history, like post 1900s, with songs, and he would just go through. He would have playlists for each decade that we study and why it was so impactful for that time.
Oh, cool.
Another hobby of mine is making playlists for friends and family. Like I love just like going to YouTube. Like my friends will send me a word or a vibe or just some nonsense. Like I have one friend who sent me the term existentialism and wanted me to make a playlist out of that.
Wow.
So I bring you no perfect game for me. A 1 to 2 player party game called I Made You a Mixtape from Mike, designed by Mike Delisio. I keep wanting to say Delicioso. That's not it. Mike Delisio and Dan Hughes. Dan Hughes, as you know, also brought you Cora Quest, and the two of them have a podcast.
Oh.
I have not heard of this game until I was looking through the list, but I'm going to read you this from BGG. I Made You a Mixtape is a push your luck set collecting game. It's set in the 1980s and 90s for anyone who has ever had an unrequited crush. In this game, you'll be taping songs from the radio to give to your beloved. You need to strike the perfect balance of enough romantic tracks to hint at your feelings, but enough platonic ones to give you plausible deniability.
Love that.
So you're trying to score points and collect sets of music genres, including your crush's favorite artists, and score romantic points. So for me, this is very much like kind of like that fog of love feeling where you're trying to like make this mystical relationship kind of work. Cool. But like also just like, I believe that like playlists and mixtapes should not be reserved for romantic love. They should also be spread with complete joy, adoration, and freedom among homies. However, yes. I also love just playing with crush feelings because crushes should be more fun than what we make them out to be. It is fun. It is just really, really fun to like somebody and find joy in like who they are as a person. And then doing that like kind of like goblin mania thing where like, I like something and I want to give it to you. So like thematically and everything, just is really like most of the games that I generally enjoy playing, they're just going to be fun. I love my big Euros. I love my strategy games. I absolutely love those things. But what I feel most comfortable talking about with the people in general is games that just sound like they're going to be a good time at the table. Yep. And this one absolutely makes that mark. Because I could just imagine I played DropMix, I think it was.
Yeah. Where you have the like you're making actual music.
Yeah. And it's just like, is it like up there with like one of my beloved favorites is Grand Austria Hotel. Like it's no Grand Austria Hotel, but you know what it is? Musical fun. Like, it's just like
very fun.
You're like, you're just like singing and you're rocking out. And I just totally imagine more of that, but like meets Fog of Love and like, come on, we all kind of miss being able to like go to dances, not the actual anxiety of feeling like you have to go to a dance, but just the idea. And it's fun. I think that this is just going to be fun.
I made you a mixtape. Yeah, I also love making quote unquote mixtapes for people. Like I would make and just for friends, I had like my friend Justin, had at some point he had moved out from Philly to LA, and then like lost his job and had to like come back with his tail between his legs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cheer you up. So I started making him mix CDs called Justin Jams. And I would just curate this list of like whatever cool like music I was listening to. And I ended up, there was Justin Jams Volume 1, then there's Justin Jams Volume 2. And then we joked about there was a hidden edition of it, you know. I don't know, but I think that's something, just like I love finding board games that people like. I love being able to share music with people that like, here maybe some tracks you didn't know about, or something that like reminds me of you, or, you know, whatever. But I totally enjoy the craft of making mixtapes as well. I think there's a website where you can do like make a vinyl mix for people too. I forget what it's called, but I wanted to do that as a gift or somebody, where you can like pick the songs and it presses vinyl as a mix vinyl, which I was like, that's kind of cool.
I love that. And yeah, also, did you put Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on that playlist for Justin? Because going from Philly to LA.
I did not.
Oh no! Justin Jams Part 6.
That wasn't the vibe of it. Maybe that's on the lost volume. That's really cool. And you know, I always appreciate unique themes, so that is a perfect segue into the third game on my list, which is called Zip Zap Zop. And this is, brace yourselves people, this is a deck building and trick taking game. What? Yeah, I said deck building and trick taking. It's designed by Taylor Reiner, who you might have seen on his channel on YouTube called Taylor's Trick Taking Table, which is awesome if you're into trick taking. If you're into trick taking games or just like learning about different trick taking games, his channel is fantastic. He has like a bunch of really cool games that he'll feature on there, and he explains them really well. And yeah, it's just a great channel. Taylor's super fun. But he's a part of the Portland Game Collective, PGC, and that's who's publishing Zip Zap Zop. And it's a 2 to 4 player game that, again, has this unique combination of deck building and trick taking. And that is not the only thing unique about it, not the combination of mechanisms, but the theme itself is about improv comedy. Like, I don't know of any other game that has the theme of improv comedy. I mean, there might be one or two out there. I'm not really sure, but
it's part of the parade.
Yeah. Like, this is just so exciting to me. So basically, you're taking on the role of comedians in an improv show, and as you're playing cards, like for your tricks, you're interacting, thematically, you're interacting with each other in an improv scene. And new cards that you're buying for your deck are suggestions from the audience, improv suggestions for the next scene. And since it's a trick-taking game with deck building, you're kind of deciding what cards you want to be dealt to you, which is like so cool. So I just love trick-taking games, and I love games with unique themes. I love deck building games. So to me, this is just, I'm very, 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 very excited about Zip Zap Zop.
Yes. It's definitely like, actually Zip Zap Zop is like a theater warm-up play game to kind of get your head more focused on the present.
Oh.
I have not read anything about it because I saw it on your list and it was just like...
So it's not just fancy alliteration. Oh.
No,
wow,
there's a game
that's
where
cool.
You're just passing zip, zap, and zop are all commands, and you're just kind of passing them around in a circle, and you're trying to like, yes, I see how absolutely this would go back into deck building, trick taking, and I'm very excited about it too. This sounds awesome.
I think it's gonna be dope. Okay, yeah. What else you got?
So this one is one people have probably heard of before, but you know what? I have loved pretty much everything these people have done, and it is fit to print. And like one of the biggest thing, like one thing I've continually said is that Flat Out Games seems to write love letters to me personally.
Of course.
I guess you could all be included in that. No, I'm joking. But like, I have just loved everything that they've touched. Like, it's just like from Cascadia to Verdant. I even have a house plant I apologize to every day and promise it a better life because of Verdant. But Fit to Print is the folks from published from the folks of Flat Out Games, pairing together with Peter McPherson of Tiny Towns, which is another special game memory for me because it's something that I got to bond with a family member over. It was lovely. So in Fit to Print, it is a real-time set collection puzzle game. Yes, my darlings, once more with the puzzles. I love them.
You love your puzzles.
I do. And you know what else I love? Anthropomorphic beings. So you are like animal people running a newspaper and you got a deadline. So you got to like push it before the morning edition is ready to print. So it has this kind of like, if you have played Ladies and Gentlemen, again, period drama, chaos, silliness, relationships. There's like this open drafting, closed drafting. I can't remember how you tell it, but like everybody is kind of making this mad dash where they're like picking it up and looking at tokens that they want. So you're doing something similar in Fit to Print where you're just trying to pick out headlines or whatever, and you're trying to place them on your desk. And when you're ready, you say ready to print or something like that. And then you take those pieces that you drafted in that kind of crazy closed drafting thing, and then you lay them out on your newspaper and you get points depending on how they're laid out before you print them. So
cool.
Love it.
Cool. I saw this at Gen Con and I did a quick demo of it, and yeah, it looks and sounds really, really cool. I love the theme and the art.
Yeah, it's so pretty. It's very much like a more like Beatrix Potter meets Ian O'Toole, and I can't remember who the artist is. But I feel really bad, but like it is very vibrant, but it also like kind of brings all of that in, almost like Zootopia almost, but for the art. I love it. I also really like that if it does not sound like a good time to you to have that kind of time pressure up front where everybody's doing a mad dash to get like tokens. They have like different variants for kind of like a more fine-tuned experience for the players at your game.
Oh,
so
cool.
if someone's just like, flexible. I have far too much anxiety to be timed on such a thing, you don't have to do that.
That's good. That's cool.
Yeah. So I really do like that they kind of like put in more accessible forms of play and accommodating different play types. So you could still engage with the puzzle. You could still get into the game if those kind of things are like, they're kind of like a yuck to your yum. And I really love the thoughtfulness, and it really looks fun.
Awesome. That is Fit to Print. So, considering I contribute to BGG News, there's sometimes when there's sometimes when I'll be just kind of like, every once in a while I'll do a search and I'll just like query. You can kind of do an advanced search on BGG, and I'll just say, show me games that are coming out in the future, and just start scrolling through and just start checking things out and kind of seeing what I can discover. And occasionally I do stumble upon some gems, which I love to kind of share in the news and tell people about, because it's like, I had never heard about this. Did anybody else? Well, here it is,
Mania. I found something cool. I got to share it with you.
Yeah, I love doing that. And so the next game on my list was something that I found in this way. Like I was just running, doing a search, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting." And it was in an article I posted in January of 2021, and then it went on Kickstarter in November of 2021. And it is called Hegemony: Lead Your Class to Victory. It's designed by Varnavas Timotheo and Vangelis Bagiartakis. And it's published by Hegemonic Project Games, which is based in Cyprus. And this is a 2 to 4 player game, but it's mainly designed as like a 4-player experience because once again, we have asymmetric roles. This is an asymmetric, political, economic, kind of card-driven board game. And it puts players in the role of one of this main like socioeconomic groups in a fictional state. So one player is going to be the working class, one player is going to be the middle class, one player is going to be the capitalist class, and the other is going to be the state. And
I was totally thinking like class president.
Oh,
and like
no,
valedictorians at first.
Not that class. But this game is like heavily based on like actual academic principles, and I think there's a whole thing where like there was a lot of research, and I think some professors and different people who had input on making this game come to life. But the working class player is basically managing skilled and unskilled worker population, and they're trying to make sure they, that everybody has their food and that all their needs are met. And you're going to have to provide healthcare and education and luxuries because you're trying to increase the prosperity of the working class people. And that's how you'll earn victory points. And then there's the capitalist player who is going to be like building and running companies, and they have to hire workers to produce goods and services. And then they sell those goods for profit to increase their revenue and try to turn that revenue into capital, which is how they get victory points. And then the middle class is kind of like has elements of both the working class and the capitalist class. And, they have workers who can work in the capitalist companies, but they can also run their own companies, like smaller companies. And when you're the middle class, you have to kind of find a balance of producing, selling, and consuming goods to kind of cover their workers' needs. So it's kind of like somewhere in the middle there. And then meanwhile, the state player is trying to keep everyone happy, and they're like providing benefits and subsidies when needed, but also trying to like maintain a steady income through taxes and avoid going into debt. And their goal is there's like this legitimacy track that you're keeping track of each other classes, like the working class, the capitalist class, and the middle class's legitimacy. And they get points at the end of each round based on whichever two factions kind of have the lowest legitimacy status. So they are incentivized to really try to like make everybody happy and balance things out a bit. The way the gameplay works is each player has their own deck of cards, depending on, whichever faction you're playing, whichever class you're playing. And it is a card-driven game. So on your turn, you're going to have a hand of cards, and you're going to play one card, and you're either going to like resolve the effect on the card, or you're just simply like discard it to perform a basic action. And each faction has their own little player aid with basic actions that are specific to them. Just as an example, like the working class can assign workers to companies and buy goods and services, and they can hold demonstrations to like push the other players to build more companies for their people to get employed and stuff like that. The capitalist class can propose bills and build companies and sell companies and make business deals. So everybody's doing kind of like their own, like they have their asymmetric role, but there's this really interesting like push and pull and balancing act as everybody interacts with each other. So to me, like I found, and I actually have played my friend Ben got a physical prototype of this, and sometime I believe it was like early last spring, we played a game of it. So I have actually played it. It's been a while, so I don't remember every detail, but I remember like really, really enjoying it, and how, the mindset it kind of puts you in to understand, again, just like we were talking about like Cuba Libre and such, when you're playing this faction or this group of people, and you're trying to through gameplay, you're understanding the challenges and kind of what they're needing to do and how you're going to pull off what they want to do, and the impacts of the other roles at the table, and how they're like pushing and pulling and like, I guess, interfering with what you're trying to do. And then like, there are different bills that can be proposed during the game. And every round, towards the end of the round, there's a voting phase where you're doing some like political stuff where we're voting on these different bills that are going to impact everybody. And that part of the game reminded me, if anybody's played Twilight Imperium, of the political phase in Twilight Imperium. Like that's what it kind of felt like to me. And then there are also like the state player has to deal with like different events that are kind of representing societal issues. And man, it's such a cool game. And I again, I was really excited about it when I just like read about it back in January 2021. I was like, wow, this sounds very interesting and ambitious. And then I actually got to play it last year and I was like, I can't wait. I had already backed it, but I was like, I cannot wait to get this game. Have you ever heard of this one? It's Hegemony.
No, this sounds amazing though. This sounds like I'm already thinking like, who would I play this with? And like, okay, like if we went with like figures of history, I'd want to play with Mr. Rogers. I would want to play with Harvey Milk and Lizzo.
Okay, all right.
Those are the three people I'd definitely want to play this
with.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one. The first time I played it, our game ran really long, but I think we got into it. There's definitely, it's one of those games where you kind of, there's maybe some role playing going on, and if you get into it, it makes it even more interesting. But we were just like kind of, again, blown away with like, hey, everybody has these asymmetric roles and we have our goals, but we're just like pushing and pulling against each other. Yeah. Such a cool way. That is Hegemony. Lead your class to victory.
That's fascinating. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. I'm like
you're still thinking about it, right? Yeah. Did you have one more game you wanted to talk about that I know you have a million.
I do. It was hard. There was no honorable mentions, but I will instead of thinking about that. So the game I want to talk about is a little bit of like self-promotion here because this is I work with Elf Creek Games. This is an Elf Creek game coming up. Designed by Brian Surrey, who did Merchants of the Dark Road, who is one of the chillest, coolest, like most approachable human beings I've met. And it is Paradox Initiative. Ooh. But you're saying, oh, Monique, this totally doesn't count. You work with Elf Creek. No, my friends, it's a puzzle game.
That's why it made the list.
It's not just a puzzle game. It's a puzzle game that like brings in Bejeweled. One of my top toilet games of my life is Bejeweled.
Top toilet games. That's a whole nother podcast episode.
Right? We all play them. We all love them. We all need them. Toilet games. So now I could get away from the bathroom and onto the game table with Paradox Initiative, where we are playing. I'm sorry, should I not talk about toilets?
That's hilarious.
We are playing as scientists trying to operate our Paradox engine to collect data of different worlds. And the pattern building is what you're doing when you're collecting these discs. You want to put them in these Bejeweled-like patterns in a grid, and then you got like the set collection, the resource management. Are you feeling my themes here? And
totally.
It's a game you can kind of get into to play right away. There's not like this huge entry. You could like once you get through the rules, you're in, and then but like your strategy is going to take a while. One of the reasons I'm also so excited about is because of the art in this game. They worked with like 19 different artists.
Wow.
To build each of the different worlds. And let me tell you, Clemens Franz, who you may know and love from many pastoral games, like Lookout Spiel games and Uwe Rosenberg games, I think. The sheep guy. Sheep in space. Sheep in space. It is so great because like not only do we have all these amazing artists that have been able to do the work for this game, they got to play. And I love that they got to just play with kind of do whatever they wanted to build these worlds. Like Mr. Cuddington has Fruit World. Beth Sobel, once again, hit me with that emotional understanding of worlds I want to exist in.
Wow.
If you love Honey Buzz, like another Elf Creek game, if you love Honey Buzz, Anne Heesdick, who did the art there, has another like absolutely beautiful world. And like Vincent Dutrait, again, like the way that he brings out light and joy and hope and even the most despairing games. Like, oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Wow.
So
this sounds awesome.
Yeah. Like for art, for gameplay, for designer, like I am a fan of like all the different things that are coming out for this game. So you'll see this one in the spring, I believe. I'm so excited.
Paradox so excited. Initiative. Yeah.
Paradox Initiative.
I love the name of it too. That's cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll just wrap things up here with one more game. And this is one. I said I'm not going to put anything in any order, but I am very, very, very excited about this one. The last game I'll mention is Horseless Carriage. And this is the newest splatter that's coming out. It was actually, I was hoping to get it at the end of last year, but hopefully soon. So this is a splatter game. It is designed by Joris Versinga and Jeroen Domen, and it's published by Splatter Spellen. It plays with 3 to 5 players. This is going to hurt your brain in the best way possible, people. It is an economic game about when cars were first invented. I guess, people didn't know exactly what they would look like or what features were important. And, before cars, people would have horse and buggies, right? So horseless carriage, I guess, is a term for early cars back in the day.
Yes.
There's a carriage with no horse. But anyway, players are taking on the role of aspiring industrialists, trying to find out like what features the public will value in buying these, new expensive cars or horseless carriages. And the game is broken up into a couple phases. And I will say also, I did have the pleasure of playing a partial game of a prototype of Horseless Carriage last year at a private gaming convention. And I walked away and I was just so excited. I'm so excited about this one because I'm a Splatter fan. I love The Great Zimbabwe. I love Antiquity. I love Food Chain Magnate. Like I just got into Roads and Boats. If you listen to episode, I don't remember which one, but one of these episodes I talked about Roads and Boats after I played it for the first time. I love splatter games. And this one, I don't remember everything besides the fact that I just walked away loving it and just being excited to get my copy of it. But there were a couple different phases, and one of the first like main phases where you're doing something is like a factory phase where you're building a factory, and each player has you have your own player board, and you end up having this classic splatter spatial puzzle that is going to burn your brain. So whereas games like Food Chain Magnate and Great Zimbabwe, there's a shared board where you're doing this spatial puzzle kind of thing. This is like you're managing it on your own personal board. I guess Antiquity has like a kind of a personal board, but this is different from that. It reminded me more of Zimbabwe. But anyway, you have your own board, and so there's this phase where you can kind of add different things to your factory, and it's again a grid where you have different pieces. I think some are like polyomino, some are just different rectangular shapes, but you are trying to kind of connect your car dealership to different types of cars it's making that are connected to different technologies and departments, and that are going to help you create car parts that you're going to use to actually like build the cars. But the puzzle of it, oh my goodness. I just remember how hard my brain was like frying as I'm trying to like figure out what the heck I'm doing. But it's awesome. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's a phase where you're interacting with this board, like a central board. It's this big like market grid, and it's representing the current car market. And this is where you're going to be trying to sell cars to people. But one of the cool things about it is you have, I think there are about 5 different specifications: reliability, speed, safety, design, I think range. And these are like tech tracks kind of. So everybody starts, I think, at the bottom at the beginning of the game, and you can kind of like learn and, research these technologies and go up these tracks. And throughout the game, I don't remember what triggers it, but on the X and Y axis of the grid, you're going to have two of these specs. So maybe you have safety going upwards, and then you have speed on the bottom. And again, these rotate. I don't remember what triggers one thing rotating out and one thing rotating in, but you're incentivized to have, to have as much experience in these different specifications, because then you're able to make more money selling cars. And what that kind of looks like is you have this kind of like stencil square thing called they're market windows. And on your turn, like again, like Splatter games, turn order is incredibly important for like everything. But you have these market windows that you're going to put over a section of the grid, but it happens in turn order. And wherever you're able to, because of the, your tech levels on these two different specifications, that's going to limit where you can put your market window. And you're going to put your market window, then you're only able to sell cars to customers within that market window kind of thing. So there's a whole thing about like the timing, and then there are different prices on this grid that's kind of like split into 4 quadrants, but there are different, basically the better you are doing in these things, the more likely you are to actually sell cars, and also the more money you're going to kind of make. So it's a very competitive game, like every Splatter game. But then like there's certain things you could do to get a bigger marketing window for like a certain, like a round. Like I think you can put advertising in your little spatial puzzle and attach that to your dealership. Like there's all this crazy stuff that's going to like feel like Splatter games, but it also felt so fresh and different. Like I don't know how they keep doing it with these games that they're making, where it's like they have this special sauce, but it's different. And a couple of the people I played with, they were like, after they did this partial game we played, they were like, I think this is my favorite Splatter game. And this is people that were big fans of Food Chain. I probably lean more towards Great Zimbabwe. Just because it's a little, I don't know what it is about it, but there's something I really love about Great Zimbabwe. But anyway, so Horseless Carriage, I'm excited about it. I know Splatter games, just like any game, are not for everybody, but Splatter fans out there, I think you're gonna love it. Yeah. Are you a Splatter fan?
I've only played Food Chain Magnet, and I love it. Like, I even love the clip art. Like, for me, I just put on like some of my favorite lounge, like bossa nova music, like just fire up the Esquivel and get going and making some burgers and pizzas and stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, let's go.
I absolutely love it. I have zero complaints about the art style. None. No notes.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, Monique, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today on the BGG podcast. I always love talking to you and seeing your smiling face at conventions when we get to bump into each other and occasionally play a game together, because usually we're just busy running around working and stuff.
Yeah.
but yeah, it was great to have you on, and like all the games that you brought up. I think Fit to Print was the only one that I had heard of, but the other ones and I already was excited about that. But the other ones I'm like really excited to kind of check out something new. So
I know. We'll have to do this again, like part 2. There's so many good games coming out
games.
this year.
We got to talk about toilet games.
Please. We all need to talk about it because we're all playing them. We need to share this information and knowledge.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute blast.
You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candice Harris. Special thanks to Matt Fonda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at boardgamegeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@boardgamegeek.com. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming!